of the rainbow.
Really?
And some of them are in these great, 50s girly shapes. My wife says that I am becoming a 7-year-old girl, and there's just no goddamn doubt about it.
I was gonna say I could see it.
Hey, you know what? It's the inevitability of these things that make it all fucking interesting.
I'm so sorry about the fuck up with the time zone, by the way. I do massively apologize about that.
Oh, well, look, you know what? I can get the time wrong by 3 hours and just in the United States.
Time zones are a fucking nightmare. They really are.
I'm telling you, you can imagine what it was like with the railroads back in the day, right?
Oh, my God.
Shit. It's like, oh, no.
I think we learned Canada was even worse. So weren't they like 5 different time zones or something over there?
Well, yeah, but Canada's worse about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to narrow it down to that, okay, let's go with it.
Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate this a lot.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Sweet.
So why am I here exactly?
Well, Jamie's going to do a nice little intro about you, and then what we're going to do is we're going to absolutely hammer the goddamn fuck out of you with questions.
Oh, okay.
I actually have some this time, Mick. I've actually got quite a few. So
now, have I been on this podcast before?
Not on ours. You did a USUK live show back in October last year with Alex, Tom, and myself.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that at all.
Do you not? Okay. Basically, Alex and Tom. I just sat there.
It was mostly Tom Bruno just hammered you.
Wait a minute. I remember, and I badgered you guys, right?
Yes.
I kept badgering you, going, wait, you're not going to say anything?
Yes, you did.
Wow. Wait a minute. It takes you a long time to say something. How many months has it been? Holy shit.
7?
Yeah. No wonder your time zones are fucked up.
Oh, right. Incredible. Jamie.
Yeah, like Tom said, I'll just do a little intro and then we'll throw a bunch of questions at you. So, are we all good to go?
Hello. We'll do it.
About 2. Right. Ladies and gents, it's been said on this show before that we like to praise the unsung heroes of Hollywood. And today's guest is absolutely no exception. Today's guest has used his skills, talent, and imagination to create some of the most iconic scenes. He's worked on many incredible projects, including Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, Blade, Hercules, Mortal Kombat, and many more. He's a special effects artist, an art director, an author, a podcaster, and an all-around pretty awesome dude. Ladies and gents, it's Mr. Mick Strawn.
Is he here?
Yeah, I think he's behind you.
That son of a bitch owes me $20.
I think you just put him on the floor, didn't you?
I think he did. I just did. Snuck back out.
Oh, Mick, my friend, how has your last year been, sir?
It's been interesting. What can I say? Honestly, I moved to Tennessee like 2 months before this whole COVID thing started, and I moved here, and my house, my wife and I, this house was just like a little tiny. My grandkids live in the big house, which is next door.
Okay.
And we got this small little house here that we've been remodeling, and I literally, as soon as I heard about the virus, I bought everything I needed to remodel my house all at once, and I made a $20,000 pile in the yard.
Oh my fuck!
and I'm finally getting down. I'm finally getting down to my 6-foot bubble tub. So I have gone through everything. I mean, I put in 17 windows. This place had no windows, and it's finally looking pretty decent. We're finally getting there. So
Excellent. I mean, was it a house before? Like, if it had no windows, what was it before? Was it just a building or?
Well, it was. Here's the thing. This guy, his family had 200 acres in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, and what he would do is he would go onto the property and he would build him a box, right?
Okay.
And from that box, he would then make that his address. And then he would go and he would build an enormous castle next door to the box. And that would all take him 2 years. And then he'd sell it off. And then he goes to the next property.
Wow.
And what it does is every 2 years, that means he doesn't pay taxes, capital gains taxes.
Yeah.
Right. And he's been doing it. And now he's like 2 properties down. And we got this place. And so the places that he makes, to live in, he's a true, Tennessean. So it only has to be a box. So I had to take this box, which is brand new, but it doesn't have any windows in it. It was 2 stories and they didn't build the second story. And I've just made it look exactly like I want to. So
that's amazing.
That's like the best use of this time I think I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It wasn't exactly how I wanted to do it. I mean, I wasn't going to do all the labor myself, but beans is I really couldn't have anybody come over, and I said, shit, no, I'm just going to have to do it.
Well, fair play, sir. Absolutely incredible.
So I literally just got all the drywall is now all done, and I'm about ready to finish up the painting. And I've been doing it like bit by bit, as one person living in a house does, because you clear everything out. You kind of play, those little blue squares. When I was a kid, there were these little puzzles that were these blue squares. They came in Cracker Jacks boxes.
Okay.
And inside of this blue square was like about 10 red squares, and you kept moving them around trying to spell the word, right?
I think I know what you mean.
Yes.
I think I know what you mean.
So that's what my life has been like for a year. But what can I say? It's been a lot of fun. It's certainly it's kept me busy. I mean, look at that wall behind me, huh?
That's awesome. Absolutely. What is it? What is the wall made? Is it?
Oh, it's a bunch of different types of barn metal.
I was gonna say it looked like metal. Yeah, that's awesome.
My neighbor pulled a barn down, and I went, "Hey, man, I'm a hippy dippy. Like, you gonna do anything with that metal?"
Did he just give it to you, or did you have to pay for it?
Yeah, he said, "Fucking California, it's fucking Californian, it's $20 a sheet."
That's amazing.
And then I said, "Well, because I'm from California, I can afford it."
I'll take it all.
No, that right there, that was America in a nutshell. If you're from California, you spent your entire life having absolutely everybody in the world come and live where you work and live, right? But when you're done being, when you're retired and you go, well, I can't afford to live here anymore, and you move it to another state, they all go, fucking Californians are moving in, and all the property values are going up, and you go, oh, fucking certainly. So if he wants to charge me $20 for a piece of old metal and I can afford it,
that's absolutely fine.
Then I let him ramble on about, oh, Donald Trump did this and Donald Trump did that. Fuck you. I can afford it, and take the metal and go home.
Oh.
You know what my wife said? My wife said as I was coming upstairs, she says, you're going to be pretty interesting today.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
Of course.
when we spoke to you last time, you were really interested. So obviously, having you back.
Well,
on is
there you
actually
go.
brilliant.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm in a good mood. It's the glasses.
Yeah, they look spectacular.
You can't be in a bad mood in them glasses, to be fair.
I mean, right. You know what? I used to be on set in the 80s, in the 90s. When I felt my worst, I would put on a salmon colored shirt, you know, like a really nice, you know, button down salmon colored shirt.
Yeah.
And of course I didn't weigh anything in those days. You know, tuck it into my like 501 Levi's, you know, and walk onto set and just make sure and just that my dick was hanging out.
As you do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know. I had a friend of mine describe. He used to say, you know, he said watching you in a meeting was hilarious. He says because you would be sitting there like obviously bored, and there would be like all these effects people and all these production people around you and stuff like this, and you just sit there and you just like be really quiet. And he says, and I'd sit there like with popcorn going, and it would get around, and they would say, well, we're going to do this way. 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 And then everybody would look at you and you go, no, we're not fucking do it that way. Are you out of your goddamn mind? You're wrong because of this, and you're wrong because of that, and you're wrong just because you're always wrong, and you're wrong. And
it's like, Mick, what do you think of this? Oh, he's got his dick out again.
That's exactly it. And he said it was just like, you know, you wouldn't speak often in a meeting, but when you did, it's like first you laid your balls on the table.
Just get it like, right, anyway, boys.
God, was I really like that? He go, oh God, yeah, you're really like that. He said it was hilarious.
I may have got anything done.
It's like I didn't know I was, but I've always been able to do this. I've always been able to really insult the hell out of you and tell you to go to hell, but make sure that you really enjoyed it. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's just a knack, you know.
It's a skill. It's a skill you've mastered.
It's a skill. It really is. I don't even know how. It's just a way of talking. It was like everybody kind of invents themselves when they go to Hollywood, you know, because let's face it, everything that we're doing is fucking fictional anyway, you know. People ask, well, why does everybody in Hollywood lie to each other all the time? It's because, well, we're all just making it up as we go along. Like I used to say to people, yeah, okay, this is going to be funny, and just remember, we're both hearing it for the first time. Just start in, you know. Survival
of the fittest.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, and I figure, well, if I was going to make it up as I was going along, I was just going to be funny and an asshole.
And it's fucking worked for you.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it really did.
Right. Mr. Strawn, take us back. What did young Master Strawn want to be when he grew up?
Employed.
Best answer again.
Can't argue that.
You know what? Here's the funny thing is I never really intended to be in the film business. I just you know, had a family early and just wanted to make and believe me, this isn't, I'm not talking Nicholas Nickleby shit here. I just had a family early, and I wanted what was better for them. And if what was better for them was for me to be a fast talking asshole, well, I was there for us.
Smashed it.
So this is you guys are from across that ocean, the Atlantic, right?
We are indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. One of the first things that I did is my sister was had got a job. She was a costume designer in off Broadway. You know, the kind of thing where they paid you she was doing costumes, and they paid her like $50 a week. And in the meantime, she would do that at night. She would work with the theater, and during the day, she would stand on corners and she would sell less than realistic purses, you know.
Okay.
like Calvin Klein or something like that. You know?
Gucci.
Gucci, yes. Gucci. Izot, yes, all that. Actually, all the best off brands, and she got a job with a with a director, and he got a job with he got a job with the Canadian Safety Council. He was from Canada, and he got a job with the Canadian Safety Council. They needed to get rid of $5 million. And so they decided to do a safety commercial, right?
Yeah.
And so she goes, you know, the first thing that you do is you hire somebody who knows that you don't know what you're doing, but won't turn you in, right? And so he hired her as the set painter. And so then she had the same problem. She had to hire somebody to come help her who wouldn't give up the bag that she didn't know what she was doing. So that's how I got my job. Here's the great thing about it is, so then we wound up doing the painting on this amazing science fiction commercial that literally the gig ran for like 6 months. It was an enormous, it turned into an enormous commercial. It was for a robot named Astrid that from the Canadian Safety Council. And here's the funny thing is she does all these flips through space, and we actually filmed them by putting cameras, 35 millimeter cameras, and zipping them up, you know, to where they're going like 300 frames a second. And she would go in these tubes that we made that had all these decorations in it that looked like space, right?
Yeah.
And they'd film it, and then this girl in this great robot suit. I mean, look up Astrid sometime, and you'll definitely go, oh, well. So is it Astrid? Look up Play Safe. Anyway, at the end of the commercial, the robot comes up and says, I'm Astar. Maybe it's Astar. I can put my arm back on, but you can't. And which was great because we had like horrible accidents on set, and we were like, you know, our motto there was safety third at best. And we were a fucking disaster. And so I literally did that. We did that for 6 months, and then I went off and I just kept working there. I literally wound up just kind of going from one weird project, and it seemed like no matter what project I touched, you knew about it years later for reasons that just weird ass. I mean, you know, all the horror films that I did. And the thing is, people still remember horror films, right? But I thought that nobody would ever remember that PlaySafe commercial. You know, I was like, oh man, you know, that probably that was $5 million that just, you know, went into a cave somewhere. Then I find out that PlaySafe commercial played in Canada every afternoon for 40 years.
40 years.
And I didn't find out about this until 2 years ago. So I'm like on a podcast, a Canadian podcast. Who knew that they actually have podcasts in fucking Canada? So
Hi, Keith. Hi, Keith.
Hi, Keith. Keith's a good friend of mine.
He's a good lad. Keith. He's a good lad.
Fuck you, Keith. fucking McClary, man, that guy, I tell you. Anyway, so so I'm just on this podcast and I bring up that little story and these people go, oh my God, that robot haunted my dreams for 30 years.
That's insanity.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like, okay. So that's the story of like how I started and like what happened. And now that you're officially my therapist and I have to start paying you, let's get going.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm down. So is that how you got into the industry then? Or was it just doing that commercial? Is that how you got picked up?
Yeah. And I worked then. I think that the first time I then worked again with my sister would have been like in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I got the job as production designer after working or as art director. They just didn't have a production designer position, but I got the job as art director after putting together the effects with Peter Chesney. And literally I went down and was doing the billing for Image Engineering, Peter Chesney's company, after we worked out the snake. And I'm just waiting there for the elevator to go up 8 floors. And a friend of mine walks up and I go, hey, Jerry Olson, how's it going? Da-da-da. We get to talking and he goes, well, what are you doing? And I go, oh, I was just finishing up the effects on this Nightmare on Elm Street 3. What are you doing? And he goes, well, I just got hired as a producer on Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And we both walked into the elevator. And by the time we walked out of the elevator, I had the job.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So, Jerry, you don't have a, and that was it. So I actually did get to do the perfect elevator pitch.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, so was the production something you always wanted to go into, or is it just literally wherever you get your hands on, you do?
Well, as in, yes, they paid money.
Oh, so yeah,
Yeah.
Whatever it was, I'll do it. Yeah, as long as you pay me, I'm doing it. Do you want to act? Yeah, fuck it. That's it. I'll be in it.
The thing about it is I do well in situations where you're plopped into the middle of it and you need to work your way back out again or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know? And I was like, yeah, okay, I got that. I'm smart enough. I know what things look like. You're our director. Okay.
Right. What's up?
Right. Hey, but my first job was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, so I didn't do bad.
Definitely fucking not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great start.
So with your line of work and what you do, it must take a real creative imagination. So where does that come from? Have you been like imaginative since you were a kid, or is like something you've developed while doing this role?
Well, I'm 100% sure it's because I was bottle fed. It was the search for a nipple. See, deep down inside.
Oh my God, that was not the answer I was expecting.
Oh, sorry.
How do you answer something like that? I don't know.
Oh, fucking hell, Keith. So fair enough.
You're not so quiet now when you're actually under the gun. Not so quiet, are you?
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Love you too, Nick. Thank you so very, very much.
Anytime, baby.
Definitely not the answer I was expecting to that question, but there we go. But
go on, Jim. I can see that you're moving into the director / writer side now as well.
I am.
You've literally moved from one end and you're literally working your way up. So you've got a lot of stuff in pre-production at the moment as well. Was that because did COVID stop that, or was it just a case of you've just got a lot of fingers in many pies?
Well, yeah, I had I had fingers in a lot of pies, and I think that I would have shot one film had it not been for COVID.
Cheers, COVID.
Yeah, The House in the Pines. But the thing is I kind of took a break for, and when I came back, you see, my sister and I were, we would, although we didn't always design together, she died in a plane accident about 7 years ago. And that kind of made it, that I then had to like deal with my mother and I had to pull everything back together on the family front and stuff. And part of that was just then in the end, moving to Washington and then moving almost immediately to Tennessee and, just getting my feet underneath me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is that in the meantime, getting out of Hollywood, I did learn all of a sudden that there were people out there who might know my name, which was such a fucking surprise. I just gotta tell you, it was a very, very strange thing to, you see, when you're middle of working in Hollywood, at least for me, it was kind of like you wouldn't know that anybody gave a shit about what you did yesterday. I mean, literally what you did yesterday. I mean, you're literally onto a tread for certain projects and stuff. And literally most of the 2000s, I was kind of the fix-it guy that was doing things that, I can't really talk about. But kind of the heavy competence and strong fuck you attitude. So literally, I kind of walked away from things, and I just remember there was, honest to God, there was a day about, I want to say maybe 2.5, 3 years after my 2 years after my sister died, that I was looking at my phone because I got a new phone. I got an Apple phone now, right? Yeah. And I think before that I had a Samsung, but I really had never like bothered to learn how it worked. I think a Samsung kind of requires that you actually know something about your phone. And I was fucked if I was going to learn anything about a goddamn telephone. And then I got an Apple, and my Apple kept having this notifications from Facebook. And I was like, wonder what the fuck that is. And when I did, I answered this one thing, and this guy goes, "Oh, I know you, and I know all your projects, and I'm from Brazil, and I did this and this and this, and it was because you did this and this and this and this and this." I was like, And I went over to my wife and I said, "Hey, look, here's this guy thinks he knows who I am." and that kept happening.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. And all of it. And then I noticed that all of those projects that I did for years and years and years and years, I kind of like hopped from one project to the other that are still popular. I don't know that they were, they weren't great projects, and most of them were, horror. And to tell you the truth, when I was doing horror, you didn't really want to be the guy that did horror. It was a hobby thing. It wasn't a hobby thing, but it wasn't the way that decent people made a living. Okay. It was like we were, I mean, I'm not kidding. And I say this all the time, and it's absolutely true, is we were just above porn stars. I mean, and just barely, I mean.
It's because you kept getting your fucking dick out, me.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is because I kept leaving my dick on the table. But it's like, it was like the dregs of the filmmaking community was the horror, and that was true for like everybody that was involved in the second great wave of horror. You know, that's something that we didn't think of at the time, but you know, that came in later. That, you know, the second golden age of horror was the 80s, right? And although we definitely tried our best, I mean, there was just no doubt, but we were always dealing with really low budgets and you know, terrible directors and all kinds of stuff, and we were always doing as much as we could with very, very limited budgets and not getting paid very much. I mean, cinema, New Line Cinema wasn't, you know, known as it wasn't known as the way towards buying your house on the hill. So
it's crazy because you think of how massive horror is now. So think back then, like if you're saying it was all low budget stuff, it's just insane to me because that genre has grown so much in the past 20, 30 years.
It's just crazy. Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. And there are so many, and the thing is I mean, there's so many things that are aligned with it that have become super popular. I mean, you know, like the superhero stuff. I did the Fantastic Four back when, you know, the guy who was holding the Constantine films was doing everything that he could just to hold on to the property Fantastic Four. You know, I mean, you know, he was making deals with Roger Corman of all people to get it produced. You know,
that movie's hard to get. It's hard to find, isn't it? That film.
It was what?
It's hard to find. I think that movie, the original Fantastic Four.
Oh, it's actually pretty easy to tell you.
Is it?
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Here's the thing. I got to tell you the truth. That film, it was made by Roger Corman for $1 million, but those were Roger Corman bucks. And Roger Corman bucks are like a penny on the dollar at best.
Fucking hell.
You can tell from fucking watching it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Roger Corman bucks are, you know, Monopoly money's probably got a better exchange rate than a Roger Corman.
I tried to watch that film. I couldn't finish it. It's so bad.
But here's the funny thing. I got to tell you, the thing about it is that I production designed it. We had absolutely no money, but it doesn't look like any of the films that came later. Because we actually only had money to make it kind of look like the comic itself, right?
Mm.
You know, I mean, it did have its own look. I've apologized enough for that over the years, by the way.
I don't know. I don't know if you can apologize enough times for that movie. Although I will say, Doctor Doom looked good. That is literally the only redeeming thing about that movie. Doom looked good.
Well, you know, this literally the reason that he did this finger thing is because there wasn't anything on the mask that actually worked. It was literally just a mask. So I thought the thing looked pretty good.
Really?
Hello?
Jamie? You can't, Jamie, you completely can't. Yeah, you can't.
Oh, did I?
Massively. Yeah,
oh,
you did,
Yeah. I thought the thing looked pretty good.
I suppose for 94, yeah.
Tom, can you make him go?
Yeah. Should stick to me and you, Mick. Yeah, we'll stick to me and you. So, with the movies you've got to work on, then how are these pitched to you? Do you have to pitch to them, or do they pick you up from? So you did Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. Obviously, you did Candyman. You've done Blade. You've done Mortal Kombat. You've done an absolute shitload. But I mean, so did they approach you to be like, oh, we want you to production design this or art direct that or create minifigures for this? Or did you go, here's my ideas?
Yeah, usually I was in the run if you wanted a really big look in a fantasy line. I mean, I was just like one of the kind of go-to guys for and you only had pocket change to do it. So, which is terrible reputation to get. And Mortal Kombat, I was brought in as a fixer for Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
What do you mean by fixer? Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Let me have a sip of my Monster.
And Uncle Mick will tell us a tale.
And I shall get out the Monster and tell you a tale.
I'll strap myself in. Let's get the seatbelt on.
So, a friend of mine called me up. He's a producer. And he says, hey, what are you doing for a little bit? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I got a film coming up. Just got moved back a little bit. I'm just driving down Sunset Boulevard, wind in my hair, my pants open, just ready for anything. And he goes, well, listen, I want you to like go to such and such a screening room, because we had screening rooms back then. We didn't do things by tape. And I got to the screening room. He says, well, we fucked up on this, and I need you to tell me what happened here. And so I saw the first cut of Mortal Kombat. And he goes, it ends, and he goes, okay, well, what's wrong with this? And I go, well, to put it simply, you made a film out of a video game, and it looks like a video game. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, well, you have this, you made it look like the film, or you made it look like the game. In other words, you have these fights and they're very uninteresting, and you don't show or involve anything else around you in the fights. And it goes from one fight to the other. That's all that happens.
Yeah.
And the thing is I can understand that the game is exactly that way.
Yeah.
And it was. But I said, the thing is that does not a movie make. Think of, and I gave him an example at the time, but probably a better example for you would be, what's the one with the six-finger man?
I don't know.
Princess Bride, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I said, think of Princess Bride. Think of the fight in the Princess Bride, the sword fight, kind of at the very beginning. Okay, which is just a masterful piece of it's a dance, is what it is. I mean, it's this great fight, and it involves the set, and there's all this twisting and stuff like that. I said everything that's right about that fight is everything that's wrong with Mortal Kombat. And he goes, well, okay, how do you fix it? And I go, well. So we sat down, we had a couple of quick meetings because it was going to come out almost immediately. And I said, we'll take the worst sequence out of the film, and we'll replace it with a sequence that includes the set more involved, and we'll take it to a new area. Right. And he says, well, how are we going to do that? And I go, well, we could always use an optical asshole. And and he goes, well, what's an optical asshole? And I go, well, you take the main character and you just go, close it around him. And he goes, we can do that? And I go, oh, fuck yeah. I'll tell you right exactly where you can do it. And guess what? Everything after the optical asshole opens up on the scorpion fight is mine. Think about it.
Yeah, that scorpion fight, it's in like really darkly lit, a lot of oranges and reds, if memory serves.
Right. And it's up in the bamboo.
Yeah, there's like scaffolding and
yes,
I remember.
Scaffolding is all bamboo, and what we did is we used the scaffolding. What I did is I choreographed with Robin, we choreographed together a fight, and then went in and built the steel infrastructure in the middle of a hangar, of a balloon hangar, and we blacked it out, and then built the set. And the set was 130 feet deep and 100 feet high, 100 feet wide, and we just filled it with ladders in different lengths, with the shorter ones up above and the long, bigger. Well, we literally bought half of a boatload of bamboo and just had it delivered one truck at a time to the set, and we worked on 8 lifts up, and started up at the top of this and worked our way down and hung it all off the structure of the hangar. And
Damn.
and the great thing about it is that we needed a way. I had taken the idea from a picture in National Geographic of a tribe somewhere, like a Samoan, a splinter from the Samoan groups that had an island, and they buried their kings on the side of a cliff that had an ocean down below it, right? And they literally always had these ladders, and they replaced these bamboo ladders as they wore out so that they could go up and put offerings and flowers on their bearers.
That's amazing.
And the bearers were just done like ladder. So the ladders, so all we had to do is make ladders, and some of them were bears and some of them were ladders. And we just made a huge, just got it, just a huge process for making these. And we hung everything with zip ties and then covered it up with bandages, right? And the great thing is that we didn't want heavy weights. We didn't pulling it down. So instead of using dummies for the bodies, we used blow up sex dolls.
Whoa!
So
Genius.
when you see that scene and you look at the bodies out there, there's 60 blow up sex dolls out there. And the great thing is that if you'd been there at the time and looked from the outside, because it was hard to cover all these mouths. And so what we would do is kind of turn the heads out so that as we're filming, we're actually going past, these mouths like this. If you went to the other side, people like start cracking up going, fuck, check that out.
I need to watch that scene again now. That's fucking brilliant.
I know what I'm doing later.
I know. Right?
So it's great because I've got to look at Mortal Kombat tonight, the new one. And here's the thing is, in order to get in that scene, we took out the fight that was in the grove. There was a fight in a grove, right? And it was like literally the dumbest thing you've ever seen. It was like, oh, I'm behind this tree. Oh. Another guy runs over and is gonna go, oh, I'm behind this tree. And there's super power over there. And it's like, fuck, man, this is horrible. And so I said, that's where we're gonna open that up. We're gonna do our optical asshole is gonna open up right here. And that's exact. And boy, I am telling you, when you look at it, you go, oh fuck, that's he said optical asshole, and that's exactly what it is.
That's all I'm gonna say now.
It's brilliant.
Oh, I sort of God, if you looked at it backwards, you'd go, that is a shit worthwhile.
So I find the creative process quite fascinating. Like you've just said then, you looked at this hangar and got all this stuff together and whatnot. Do you have like a process or a mindset you approach a project with, especially like in your early days? Like, do you watch similar movies to get ideas, or is it literally just you go in and you go, this, I'm doing this?
You know what? I know this is going to sound really funny, but what I always tried to do is not bore myself. I know that sounds funny, but it was literally what I did. It's I wasn't really a big fan of horror films. Like most of the horror films that I've watched within the last 7-8 years. I was just a fan of getting the job done. and and I wanted to beat the other guy. You know, I know that this sounds weird. Is, you know, when people are really honest about what their motivation is, my motivation was just to be the best at what I did, and to be good at horror. I had an instinct for it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that terrified me most is when I was a kid was watching a film called The Skull, which was a 60s terrible film, but it was just this floating green skull in the air. but you know what? The thing that's funny is there's a guy, I can't remember, he was some horror actor, and he said he read something that somebody else had written that said horror is the thing that you just barely catch out of the side of your eye. And man, that's absolutely true, because most people are too blatant about what's good horror. Like, think of it this way. If you open up the door to a house and there's a skeleton standing there, that's Halloween, right?
Yeah.
If you walk up to the closed door and there's hundreds of flies banging on each other, making the light flicker around the light, that's horror. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to understand the difference between the two.
That's really clever. That's really clever. I like that.
You know, I'll give you an example. A really good example of, to me, is the difference between Alien and Aliens. Horror is Alien, and think to yourself how many times you saw the creature. You hardly ever saw the creature at all, right?
At the end, that's about it.
And the thing is and it blew it. Seen in the end. And by the way, that was shot way past principal photography. Is you know, that was a bunch of producers figuring that they had to put the nail in the hands of the director, so that Ridley Scott, so that he could put the nail in the coffin, right? You know, and it was too far, and it looked like a rubber dummy, right? But the rest of the film was really, really horrifying, because you hardly ever saw the creature. I mean, what you actually saw of that creature coming out of the black, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's horrifying all the way up until you see it.
It's that fear of the unknown, isn't it? It's like, you know, that thing's there, but you don't know what that thing is, and that makes it scarier.
That's right. You know, and the thing is you're afraid that something's going to happen to you, and it's building and it's building and it's building, and all of a sudden you turn around and go, Bill, where are we? Bill? See, that's scary shit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
it's like sorry.
Well, the thing is, I was just going to say that these days our horror is a little bit more gore influenced. And I think that, and I have absolutely nothing against gore. I just think that that true horror is as a scary thing is kind of more subtle in its way, you know?
Yeah, I think true horror is less of what you see and more of what you don't see.
Right. See, now, to me, the Nightmare on Elm Streets are more buddy flicks than they are horror films.
I'd agree with that.
You know, like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I mean, everybody wanted to make it, you know, this horror film. And I said, you know what, because I was given the choice. I said, no, I don't want to make it all on the road. I want to bring it back onto a stage and make it a fantasy film. And we did. And in that process, 3 and 4 to me became about journeys in a dreamland, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I can scare people. I just didn't see that that's what those two films were about.
Yeah,
You know, they're about these amazing. They're about these amazing journeys, and the thing is there were so many things in there that were so much more sophisticated than people think. I mean, you have the coming. The thing is we were trying to create to get away from a Superman problem.
A Superman problem.
Yeah, you know what a Superman problem is, right?
Nope.
Well, if Superman can do anything, so how do you create it?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is Freddy obviously has a Superman problem because eventually you got to go to sleep. And when you do, right?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is they created the ability of bringing people into a dream with you in order to get around that Superman problem. So here's what you had happening on the third is you had first of all, they let Freddy off the chain. Robert Englund is an actual actor. I mean, he's a motherfucking great actor is what he is. And so what they did is they kind of let him start to improvise and pull his own lines in and let him become, I mean, let's face it, he became a comedian in the darkest sense of the word. And doing that, it made the series more popular and made it so that it was going to survive. And we brought it onto the stage so that it could be more of a fantasy. And we also we got rid of the Superman problem by making it so you could bring people into the dreams.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And the thing is that's kind of where it was at for the rest of the series of films, you know?
Yeah, they always found around it was either bringing him out of the dream, or you can bring things in, or there was taking medication so you stopped dreaming.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But all that made it that made it so that you really did have, you know, different situations when you were inside of the dreams. You know, it was more like a chess game.
So, but the question I was going to ask, actually, quite as we're mentioning Nightmare on Elm Street, relates more to sequels. But what research, if any, do you do when taking on a project like a sequel? Like, will you watch the previous movies, or you be like, "I'm Mick Strawn, bitch. This is what I'm doing." Like an example be redesigning Leatherface's mask, like when you did the third Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is there that pressure there, or is it just like
fucking really nailed it though? You really did.
Yeah, I had a feeling that might be the answer.
You've actually been listening to this podcast, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, that was pretty much because I tell you, honest to God truth is by that point I was at, yeah, you know what? I don't like that. and the mask thing was particularly funny because we I don't know if you've ever heard a story about this, but K&B Effects were the ones that were making the mask, Greg Nicotero.
Oh.
And they had really gotten big at this point. And when I went over to to approve the mask, and when I did, I as I drove up, there were buffalo everywhere. And I mean, there were buffalo everywhere. The parking lot was full of buffalo. You had to park like 2 blocks away. You know, there was buffalo that was actually taking up street parking. You know, well, think about it. Think about when it was done, because there was a film, Kevin Kline film called what the hell? Oh, I had it was right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it was an epic Western, right? And so in this epic Western, you know, they had to have buffalo, all these buffalo, and Greg Nicotero was making the buffalo, but the buffalo were fucking everywhere, and it was really hard for them to actually focus on doing the mask because they were so overwhelmed with Buffalo. I mean, I literally had to move around Buffalo in order to talk to the guy that had the mask. I'm like here on this side of the table, and he was 2 Buffalo away from me on the other side of it. So literally it was sort of that thing of and he was trying to be kind of attitudey, because here was another production designer that wants me to come in and tell me what to do, and the thing is, I had done an awful lot of what they did. It wasn't like a matter of like I didn't know what was going on. So when I finally did have to go around the 2 fucking Buffalo, I just cut the fucking mask up and told him to put it back together like this, god damn it, and then I walked out.
Nice. I love that.
And so that's why that mask is like kind of got the ripped up face, and I this. It's because I just
fucking brilliant. I mean, can you do all your measurements in Buffalo now, please?
Yes.
What's your house at? About 6 Buffalo away?
2 Buffalo. Yes. I want you to know that you're only 2 Buffalo away from me, motherfucker.
So, does your knowledge of special effects, productions, and other things sort of like ruin movies for you now? So when you watch films, you're like, well, I know how they did that. I know how they did that. I know how they did that. Does it ever spoil the viewing pleasure?
I wouldn't say that it spoils it. You know what? It's like if you really know a lot about jazz, does that ruin the best jazz for you? No.
No, I suppose. It just made me think, because obviously movies are there to be enjoyed and watched, but I suppose if you worked
I love it when it's done. And here's the thing. It is just like jazz. It's like when it is done well. When I watch a film that's done well and I forget that I'm just a guy in the audience, that's when I really fucking dig it. I mean, okay. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Road Warrior, not Road Warrior. What was the Mad Max?
Oh yeah,
Mad Max. I thought Mad Max was done so well that I stopped thinking about the particulars of how they did things. I mean, then later on, I found out, that, so much of what he had done was practical and all the rest of this. And I was like, yeah, it was just fucking cool. I love it when all of a sudden it's just fucking cool.
Yeah. You forget, like, how, so you just enjoy for what it is.
I'll give you another example is What We Do in the Shadows, the film.
Oh, what a film.
It's like, how do you break that down? I mean, there's just so many flashes of brilliance in it. Like
it's hilarious. So.
The scene of them sitting at the table when all of a sudden they come up like this,
Yeah.
You don't say to yourself, oh, how do they do that? You went, oh fuck. There's a scene in that. There's a scene in that where he, at the very beginning, where he opens the guy's room and it looks like he's like a mile away, upside down, fucking 2 people, right? And you're going, oh my God, what? And he closes the door, and then all of a sudden the guy's at the door going, yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are things that I don't know if you've ever seen a film called Dave Made a Maze.
Nope.
You ought to see it sometime, because when the Muppets happen, you go, oh, fuck, Muppets. That's fucking amazing.
Now I'm painfully intrigued.
I'm writing down.
Oh, yeah. Dave Made a Maze. And here's the thing. In all honesty, you have to send me a message when you see the Muppets and go, fucking Muppets, right?
Yeah.
Well, what else? What else was it going to be? It couldn't be anything else.
I'm actually writing fucking Muppets right down as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Tell Mick, yeah, the Muppets were necessary. I mean, it had to be done. I tell you, I think that some of the independent stuff that's being done these days is incredibly brilliant. I think that the overall style of writing the overall, style of acting, makeup effects, even CGI, if it's used correctly, if it's set up correctly, can just be absolutely brilliant. And I don't think that films need to be made for as much money as we used to. I mean, the Marvels are the ones that just go and spend the money, right?
Yeah.
Let those be their own thing. Uh, I equate the place that we're at, movie making wise. I relate it back to the beginning of the last century, when in the 1920s and stuff, where just as talkies were coming out, they had all this new technology. They had they had film and they had sound, and they could tell these great stories, and they didn't really, they were still working on distribution and stuff. And the thing is then they developed past that. They developed for like 80 years, right? And the stuff that we were doing was just the refinement of that 80 years of doing it virtually the same way. I say that, if in 1939 you'd walked off of a stage in Britain, or walked off of a stage in Hollywood, and then turned around and walked back in to that same stage in 1985, you would have pretty much known kind of exactly what was going on, because it was the same fucking thing that had been going on when you walked away, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the saying? If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, it's just refined. It just took that many years to because, and you have to remember, it was a business. It isn't as much a business anymore. I mean, there's people out there that are doing it just for the passion of it. I mean, I did a film called Vengeance recently. That was a fan film. It was just so interesting because I didn't understand at first, what is everybody doing here? What? Why? I mean, why did you show up? Why did you show up for 3 days? Because chances are you couldn't show up for 3 days because you had to go back to your job at 7-Eleven. But you were there for a day. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then after a while, you start to look at it differently. I think that people of my age who've been working in the film and overpaid for a good period of time, can get a little jaded. And I'm trying to de-jade myself. Probably, if I could just get a little bit trimmed off of my dick, then that would definitely work. But that ain't gonna happen.
And it would fit better.
But it wouldn't have as much as an effect when you lobbed it on a table. Then,
yeah, well, oops, missed the table again.
You've worked on so many amazing movies. I was wondering if we could just discuss, because I've been here all day, if we spoke about all of them in detail. If we could talk about a couple, like in particular, just any memories or stories you can tell, or details of what you did. That's yes.
Stop talking.
No. So you worked on a ton. Sorry, Karen.
There was a film called what was it? Had Mark Wahlberg in it. Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. Oh yeah.
I'll tell a quick story about Boogie Nights. I have some really long stories about Boogie Nights, but when I say long, so
like a book.
anyway, I was working effects with a company in town, because between being production designer, I would go and hide and do just special effects, for a couple months until like my next project, came around. And I was working. I I came in, got into the office like late in the morning, like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and they put a script in my hand and said, "Here, go to this address, get across town." And I grabbed the script and I throw it in my car and I start driving across town. And I get there and there's a procedure. They said, "Oh, the production meeting is happening right now." Now, here's what the production meeting is. Is either one of you ever been worked in film?
No.
I'm afraid not. Not been lucky.
Don't start now. So you walk into a room that's got like 35 people on it, all the department heads, anybody that's important, and they're all doing a read through of the script, and it's a technical read through. So the first AD turns the pages and says, "Da da da da. Here's the first scene. Let's talk about it." And then they talk about the first scene, what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I had just gotten the script, and this happened all the time. So there was kind of a procedure for it. So what you would do is you'd grab another script from off of the counter and you'd slop that down and you'd open it and you'd follow the first AD with that script. And in the meantime, you'd take your script and you'd madly try and get ahead by holding it down here, right? And you madly see if you could get 2 or 3 pages ahead. And so I'm madly going ahead, and it's Boogie Nights, right? And they're going through it, and I'm going ahead, and I read it. I'm 2 pages ahead, and I look, and I went, and Mark Wahlberg's character pulls out his enormous 12-inch cock, and I look up. And I knew the prop guy, and the prop guy is sitting right across from me, and he goes, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, and it's right here." And he reaches down. He grabs this paper bag, and he slaps this paper bag down in the middle, literally the middle of this table, 35 people sitting around it, and he reaches in the bag, and he pulls the bag off, and there's that hairy 12-inch long dick sitting on the table. And I'm like, huh. What? And I have to tell you, and that film just went downhill from there. I mean, literally downhill from there. I mean, I was like, it just got weirder and weirder and weirder. I mean, there are stories. I literally sat 16 hours in a little tiny washroom with 2 other guys with little steering guns so that we could shoot on the skin of 2 people that were fucking each other for 16 hours.
What?
During the party scene. Remember the party scene at the very beginning?
I barely remember that movie. I've seen it once when I was young. I don't remember it very well.
Well, the funny thing about it is I kept thinking to myself, I might have imagined being in that room for 16 hours. And I told that story because there's a lot more to the story. I mean, it really was, let me just tell you, your brain just goes to like other places after a while, it's like after a while, I think I started to imagine that, that she was just petting a kitten or something. I had no idea what was going on. And so I literally thought that maybe I had imagined that. And a guy wrote a book about that film. Why anybody would write a book about that film, I had no fucking idea. But it was about 3 years ago. He wrote a book about the film. I told him that story, and he kind of was like, "Really? Okay. And he calls me back up about a year ago, and he goes, "Dude, I have to tell you, I finally met the girl that was in that room for you, and she absolutely corroborated everything." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, that really did happen." You mean that really happened?
I mean, sit in a room for 16 hours.
Oh,
Just.
I'm not surprised. I'm having fever dreams. Just
It's just good lube. That's all it is. That's all it can possibly do. It's, you know, you talk about your Astro lubes, man.
Fuck. God damn.
It's either great lube or axle grease. I don't know what the hell is going on there.
One of the things in your career that is what a personal highlight of mine that I absolutely love is your work on Blade. Because didn't you do the shower scene in the opening, the blood shower scene?
I did. Yep.
What can you tell us about that? Because it's honestly one of the greatest opening scenes in fucking cinema. I love it so much.
You know, we set that up. We experimented with that blood forever. We found out more things about pumping a semi-viscous fluid because we didn't want it to be like Evil Dead 2, where where it looked like water, like red water. We literally used dough heads. For making bread, they have a like these inch and a half heads that you pass that they can hot pressurize dough through, right?
Okay.
We had to use those instead of we made them look like they were fire sprinklers, but when you look at them and you think to yourself that they look really large, well, they're not my penis. It's they're actually enormous heads. We had to do that. We used 3,500 gallons of essentially a methicil kind of thickener, food thickener, and color, and it was chlorinated, and because it chlorinated, it changed colors. And we had a ring of emergency showers that were all the way around the building. It was you have no idea what a huge deal that scene was, plus we had 3 pumps, and it took 3 pumps in order, if you're watching it, like the pressure surges and then really surges, and that's the 3 separate pumps coming online, and it was a huge deal. My daughter was one of the dancers in the room.
That's cool.
And she got caught between a couple of taller people and almost drowned.
Holy fuck.
Yeah,
Fuck.
because that stuff was coming down so fast, and they were pogo dancing, right?
Yeah.
And in the pogo dancing, you don't separate, right? And it was coming down so fast and so hard that she, being less than they, literally had to have somebody on the side actually got her breathing again.
Whoa!
Holy shit, man!
What kind of irony would that have been on that particular? And that was a fucked up film anyway. That director was an asshole. He was British, by the way.
Oh, that makes sense.
Understandable. Yeah.
You know what? I came up with a theory, kind of my own personal theory about that. He was a truly aristocratic British asshole, and I thought to myself that if he'd grown up, and I really hate guns and all the rest of that, but if he'd grown up in a state like Texas, he would have never made it. He would have never lived long enough to actually come and be a plague on my life during Blade.
Did you just do that one scene in that movie as well?
You know what? I didn't get along with the director, and I did. There were several other things that I did, but after a while, I just kind of decided to go home and live my life.
Fair enough.
He's just such an asshole.
What about Wesley Snipes? Was he the similar?
He was an asshole too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you laughed.
God, you know, the funny thing is come to think of it, everybody was an asshole, and the problem was is everybody had better lawyers than I did, right? So you know what? When that happens, you go home. You just fucking go home.
I'm sorry,
Right.
Mick. That's
And
so
I mean-
shit.
Oh well, you know, it was truly. You have to remember that these are businesses. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, the director was such an asshole that he literally got jumped twice during the film, and they had to like shut down filming and literally negotiate back onto. He had to negotiate back onto the set twice.
Holy,
Once a cameraman jumped him, and once the key grip jumped him.
holy
I mean,
shit.
jumped him and beat him up. I mean, literally beat him up.
Hell.
And then he went. And the thing is, I guess in the long run, you know, you get what you deserve, because this guy literally went on to do what's the gentleman? League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the only two films he did. Literally Blade and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, Blade, I think that he did by accident. I think League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I think he deserved everything that he got.
I mean, I bet you wish you were still there to be the third person to jump him.
Yeah. Nah, you know what? That life is too short.
Yeah.
There's so many people that jump in Hollywood. If you're gonna start, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Fair
So-
play, Mick.
So when you're on USUK Live, you sort of touched on the fact that you did and didn't work on the Buffy movie. What happened with that?
Well, I got the job with Josh Whedon to be his production designer, and Josh Whedon irritated the fuck out of everybody and got fired, and I had to shut the door for him on the way out. So, oh, you want me on that? Oh, I see. Okay, I'll go too. That's what are you gonna do? You know, you hold the door and you go, well, I'll hold the door, and you know, he goes through and you shut the door, and then they're all looking at you and you go, oh yes, see, I get it. Oh yeah, I was with, yeah, that's right, I came with, he's my right, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
And also, the other thing you touched on the live show that you joined us for before was you mentioned that you worked on Sid and Nancy, but I didn't see any credits for that. What?
Well,
I
you know
fucking love that movie. What did you do with Sid and Nancy?
Here's the thing you have to understand is that I guess I just realized I was going to say that IMDb is not the Bible, but it actually kind of is. Everybody looks at it all the time, and it's all fucked up.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
but there's nowhere else to look.
Yeah, well, that's right. You know, and the thing is you're entirely like I did a film called the Night of the Scarecrow with Jeff Burr, and I don't think either one of us ever showed up on IMDb for that one. Thing is, there are a lot of things that I did that didn't show up, but I know exactly what happened on Sid and Nancy. Is I built the Chelsea Hotel, and
Okay.
I built all the clubs. Right, all the clubs were shot in Hollywood. All the interior of the clubs, including the one with the enormous toilet. And you know, I just have to tell you how difficult it was to keep a bunch of punk actors in the late 80s, early 90s from shitting in an enormous toilet. Right? It's like, you know, it's like invite mayhem into your life. All right. Hello, I got an idea. What we're going to do is we're going to get 500 extras. They're all going to be punks. And then we're going to put a fake toilet on the, but better than that, let's make it an enormous, you know, let's get the toilet from the 50-foot woman and let's put that on set. Good idea.
To be fair, I probably would have done the same. I probably would have tried to use it.
Hello, what do you think? We didn't want to shit in the goddamn
Should have like a massive
Come
sign.
on!
Please stop shitting your toilet.
This was before DNA tracking anyway. So,
Did anyone actually shit in it?
but I got to tell you what, one thing that I did do. Anyway, we built and art directed the Chelsea Hotel, and I thought that we did a really great job. I thought that it looked stunning. We did it with Ray Fox and Linda Burbank, and they did set dressing on it, and these guys, they were just crazy for detail. I mean, they literally sat there with 50 packs of gum, and went to her side of the table of the bed, her side of the bed, where and literally took 50 pieces of gum and chewed it up and put it, on the bedstand, just like detail oriented, but I remember it was a British crew that came into town, and the British kept the camera crew. And I don't know if I said this at the time, but we were 3 stories up on the stage, and we had this big freight elevator that would come up, and in the morning of the first day, the camera people came up, and as they came up, they sang "God Save the Queen," coming up the open, this huge open elevator, and they had obviously rehearsed it because the harmonies were perfect. I mean, you don't get that out of fucking blue, right? So they sang "God Save the Queen" as they came up the elevator. And so then a half an hour later, the Grips came up, and they had heard about, the "God Save the Queen" thing. So they came up with the Battle of New Orleans. We fired our guns and the British kept coming. There wasn't quite as many as there is a while ago. We fired them twice, and the British started running and down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. I gotta say, to this day, that was like one of my favorite ever things, was hearing that.
That's amazing. I love hearing you tell stories. They're amazing. But I've got to ask, because there's got to be a story in here as well. Has a director ever come to you with what they want, and you've just been like, no fucking way, it's just not doable?
Yes.
Every film.
Eventually a director is going to do that, and what you have to do is, first of all, you have to realize that this stuff just doesn't just happen. One of the problems that I have with Chuck Russell is a problem that everybody had with Chuck Russell, like on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, is that you would discuss it, and you would like turn in diagrams, and you would have pictures, and circles and arrows, and and then you would build all of it, and then you'd look at it and you go, yeah, you see, now I know that this, I don't know what I want, but I know that it's not this.
Yeah.
After you fucking built it.
I mean, yeah. And the funny thing is, Wayne Bren is putting out a book about Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and or about the Elm Street series. And he had me write the foreword for him. And I wrote about going to the cast and crew screening of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And as I was parking my car, Chuck Russell crossed the street in front of me, and I let him live. And the funny thing, and I say, and I let him live. I hope the guys who did the Blob forgive me. Because that was the next thing that he did. So, it was better. It was better put. I had time to write it down.
Talking of the books.
So yeah, that happens a lot. And you know what, you just you just gotta not panic and know that your idea was better.
Yeah. without actually physically telling them.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I was on the set with Paul Michael Glaser on Kazam, and we had like created this effect of a tornado coming up for Kazam coming, right? And part of the tornado effect was to have debris shooting this way and debris shooting that way, like behind it, right?
Yeah.
And the guy, I gotta tell you, it was a really tough situation because his wife and child died like literally 9 months before of AIDS. And he was in this super fragile state, and he goes, well, wait, this doesn't look like 3 dimensions. It doesn't look anything at all. I see stuff going this way and stuff going that way. And everybody kind of said, okay, Mick Strawn, would you please come to set? I was like, yeah, what do you guys want? We want you to explain something to Paul. And then they all left.
Oh, nice.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That's the kind of shit that I got for years then from then on. The problem was I was then successful explaining it to him because I said, Paul, here, do me a favor. Let's look at the effect and you close one eye and I'll close one eye and we'll look at it and we'll see if it still doesn't hold together for you. And we did, and it worked. And he goes, oh, he says, well, I just needed somebody to do that. And I go, okay. I'll be in my office shitting. I'll be in my office shitting in a fucking huge toilet.
So on the flip side of that question, though, have you ever done a setup for something and an actor's been just like, I ain't fucking doing that? Been a complete ass about it.
Yeah. I've had problems before with actors. Yeah. I had a guy named Joe Lasky that was he was an actor who he was enormous. I mean, I'm huge now. I think he was 400 pounds, and he had to do this film where he had to ski. He had to ride in a sleigh. He had to like do all this shit. And the thing is he just couldn't. He told when they asked him can you ski? Oh yeah, sure, I can ski.
One of them.
You know how to ride a horse? Oh yeah, no, I'm a champion rider. This guy couldn't fucking do any of that shit, man. It's like, and whenever he got into trouble, he called me on the set. I was like, holy shit, how did I get that job? Literally could not get onto a ski lift. Right?
Wow.
And here's the thing. The thing is if you can't get onto a ski lift and then somebody does figure out a way for you to get on it, then you gotta get them off at the other end. That was really rough.
So 4 hours later, still there.
The thing is we get up there and it's like I'm like, okay, now you got to get off because this thing's gonna keep going. What do you mean it's gonna keep going? So I didn't get him off the first time. We went all the way back around, all the way down, and then the next time, as we were getting up there, I just got back and literally, he leans back and he knew that I was gonna push him out. Right. And so he leans back and then I lean back and the next thing he's rocking and everything like this. And finally we just spill out onto the way. And the thing went so low that it literally scooped him up with one ski. Right. One of the skis got caught in the thing and literally like just started to drag him around along the ground. It was like, this is a good time. This is a good fucking time.
Oh, you can guarantee that man never wants to think of that film ever again.
Well, he's dead. So
he's never going to think about it ever again then anyway. So
see, you know what? Things just work out in the long run.
So we mentioned in the intro that you were an author.
Like that Tom doesn't even know what to say about that one.
I know, yeah.
I was going to talk and Joe beat me to it, so that was all.
You go ahead. I've asked loads of questions. You go ahead.
So I think he was going to ask the same question, actually. The book Behind the Screams about Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Yes. How did that all come about then? What was the idea behind that? Why was it? Let's do a book about that one particular movie.
You know what? It was one of my favorite films to work on. It was really really complicated. It was done in a very short period of time. It was at the very beginning of so many young people's career that went on to just be the major. I mean, you had K&B, Chris Biggs, you had John Buechler. The thing we had to do is take the effects and Screaming Mad George. We had to take every effect and give a different effect to everybody in town in order to do it, because we started filming it. We started pre-production in February, and it was released in August. So that for a film at that time of that size was unheard of.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we got the whole town, and it was my job to coordinate all that. We got the whole town working on it at one time.
Wow.
So that's, so we had like great I mean, and the thing is it was a very positive film. It was like, we'll just fucking work it out. I remember I had 3 people telling me the story of the dog pissing fire, and how there was this discussion going on between the mechanical effects people who do the fire and the makeup effects people who made the dog, and like literally as the camera starts to roll, one of them turns to the other, and literally you hear in the book there's different groups are saying and then in that discussion we're talking about how we're asking each other, so you fireproof the dog, right? Well, what do you mean, did we fireproof the dog? As the dog goes up in a ball of flame, like in the background.
Fuck.
So they so then they try and film it again, but they literally have to like spray paint the dog. So and the thing is they didn't give you enough. They didn't even give enough dog. They only had like half the dog, like just the back legs, just that's that. So you had to frame it really, really tight.
Yeah.
Framing really, really tight. But basically it was a spray painted. The great thing is everybody, all these people had all these great stories about, and they're just not the stories that you ever hear. I mean, all the stories that you hear are like, about some fucking star and their goddamn agent. And,
yeah.
Fuck you.
What I noticed as well when I was doing my research is I love the way you sign your books for fans. It's
what are you
brilliant.
trying to say?
With the stories you write in the inside cover.
Oh. Let's see if I've done any recently.
It's brilliant.
You're right. I have done a lot. Let's see if I've done anything recently. Let's see this one. Oh. Dear Ryan, I can forgive myself for writing this piece of shit, but what of the people that buy this stuff? Where's your personal Idaho? And is it really just a bag of burning dog shit? I don't even know what that means.
No, do we? But it's fucking brilliant.
Here's one. Dear Chloe, so this little piece of shit is off to Australia. Well, good riddance. It knows what it did.
I love them so much. I was roaring because you put some on your Twitter and I was absolutely roaring reading them.
Let's see. My dog looks so cute sitting on the couch, licking his balls, making a real nutsack meal of it. I thought it would be sweet just to have him lick the cover of your book.
You're welcome.
So good.
So that's kind of
Oh,
yeah,
love
that
it.
it's that sort of thing.
Just
So,
whatever comes to your mind at the time.
Dear Frank, don't breathe on this book. Wear a mask while reading. Wash your hands after use. It won't give you COVID, but your penis may fall off.
That's my favorite. Oh, fucking hell.
Dear Michelle, this is a lame bunch of words. However, I'm sure you'll pass this on to your children's children because this is the best we could do in 1986, you little cougar, you. I don't know what that means. I really don't.
Oh,
Dear Arvid. Arvid, what kind of fucking name is Arvid? Dear Arvid. So I hear you can't read, have a low IQ, and you soil yourself often. Boy, have I got a book for you.
Oh.
What made you start
I'm just
doing
here
these?
to have fun, goddammit.
I love it
I am only here to amuse myself.
Oh, I love it. But before we get out of it, I wanted to talk about what you've been doing recently since the movies. I read somewhere you build guitars and amps. Is that right?
I have a guitar over here. Let's see. I have a bass.
Oh, is it the one that looks like it's got a chocolate river running down it? I love that one. That's on your Facebook. Bye, mate. Oh my God, that's incredible.
So cool.
Damn, man. Where did you want to start doing that for then? What, just you like playing, but that's so lush. Do you like playing instruments, or was it just like, fuck it, I'm gonna make some guitars because I want to?
I know how to play.
Awesome.
But better than that, I know how to make good looking ones. So
there's that one you put on your Facebook. It looks like it's a chocolate river. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I just put the update to that one. I just found a close up of it. That's my brother-in-law's left-handed bass.
It's beautiful.
It's left-handed fretless.
So lush, absolutely stunning piece of work. That's absolutely beautiful. But I also noticed that you've been making roach motels.
Yes,
as well. That's also from the movie as well. So like, and you've been starting to send them off as well. They look.
I have. Yeah. You know, I do weird shit.
Yes, nothing wrong. I think it's incredible.
You know how hard it is to keep me entertained.
Yes.
I think you get that. I think that this whole thing, you've got the idea.
Absolutely.
It's a whole, you know, this kind of insanity. If you ask me why I'm good at being a production designer and so forth, it was just because I could tame my insanity, you know.
It's good. I love it.
Yeah, that's really honestly, you know, I think that you have to be out on the edge in order to make things look interesting, and the trick is to tame that, you know, so, you know, I have often said this, that the problem with most people who are really creative is not coming up with ideas. It's just cutting them off, you know, making them stop long enough to make them into what you need, you know.
I like that. Tom, have you got any more questions?
Just one more, actually. You have a little podcast that you do called The Dream Warrior Review.
I do.
Where you just review movies and stuff like that. Was that just something that was, because obviously you did, like, I think you're 300 episodes now, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. It's really weird.
Incredible.
It's literally some friends of mine, a friend of mine and I have been doing that on Sunday afternoon for so long that, I mean, literally I moved to Washington for a short period of time, and we went to see a movie together. And on the way back, we thought, hey, this banter that we're doing sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so we turned it into a podcast, and we didn't know anything about making podcasts, and it's been going ever since.
Absolutely fantastic. Love it.
It's fun. I mean, you know, every once in a while I get to tell a story, and I think that he's hilarious too. You know, he's actually got like a real voice for a voice for radio, and I've got a face for radio. So
everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Just quickly now, you just made me think of it. Actually, in the future, you will be teaming up with a good friend of us all, Mr. Keith McCleary on Tapas TV.
I'm trying to get together. You know, it's funny. I'm having like this period right here where everything is like peaceful, and it's almost like I don't want to destroy it with doing another podcast for a little bit, but pretty soon I'm going to get together and we're going to. The idea is kind of this: is I love looking at stupid things Americans do. You know, like I don't know. You know what really inspired me is I saw a picture of like one of the Chuck E. Cheese rats standing in the middle of a dump. It's the fucking best picture ever. It's like his, you know, there's bits of his skeleton and you know, computer boards, shit, and the motors showing, and there's that. And I thought, oh man, this is just so vastly American, you know, and I just talking to him on the phone and going, well, yeah, you Canadians do stupid things too, right? And he goes, yeah. I said we should have a competing stupid things broadcast. So we're gonna put it together.
That sounds amazing.
It sounds so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because America can be really stupid. You know, America has all these roadside attractions. And I said, well, you have roadside attractions in Canada, don't you? And he goes, no, we don't. Why would we do that?
They put it freeze to death.
Exactly. This is where Paul Bunyan froze. Froze to death and died. He attempted to live through the night by cutting open Babe and crawling inside, but it didn't work. See that right there? That's it.
That's the show.
That's the show.
Beautiful.
Mick, this has been so much fun. Before we get out of it, we do like to play a little game with our guests. We call it the quick fire round. It's 5 questions, and you just answer them as quick as you can. Will you be willing to take part in this?
Okay.
Right. It's very easy. First question: your go-to karaoke song?
I've never sung karaoke in my life.
Can't say I blame you either.
The first ever concert.
See, that was easy.
That was easy. First ever concert you went to?
It would have been Edgar Winter.
Nice. How do you take your tea or coffee?
Lots of cream, lots of sugar, and if it's tea, I pour it out on the ground.
Oh. Cool. Can't say that to British people. Who would play you in the movie of your life?
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc. I don't know.
See, you're gonna have to find out who that was.
Research that one, yeah.
Oh, and, you know what? I'll give you Mel Blanc was the voice of Daffy Duck. He was the voice. He was the voice of the rabbit. Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
He was all those voices, and I always wanted him to. I want him to play me, but when I die, I want him to do the voiceover.
Phenomenal.
Last question. If you could give young Master Mick Strawn a piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't.
Just don't. Just don't.
Best answer ever.
Just don't.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, Mick, this has been absolutely amazing. Before we run off,
That was 5? Oh my God.
That was
See,
fine.
I passed. I passed.
You won them all. Have you got any plugs, websites, where people can get the book, anything you want people to check out of yours?
You know what? You just have to get a hold of me, and I know that it's a challenge. Just get a hold of me on Facebook. You have to DM me because I am probably 4 years behind on my friend requests. So if you really want the book, you have to DM me or see me at a con. I don't feel any compulsion to actually advertise or actually get you a book. So this is your job. And if you want to, if you want a Roach Motel, fuck you.
Perfect.
Can't think of a better way to end the show.
Been an absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us. We really appreciate it.
You guys are welcome. It's been a lot
Thank
of fun.
you very much. Been great fun. Really
Thank
appreciate
you, sir. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy the rest of your day, mate.
See you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Where's the leave button?